Car poised for the start of the Indianapolis 500 1971. That orange car on the inside on the pole is Peter Revson. The blue car next to him is Mark Donohue, and Bobby Unser on the outside. The green flag is out. They're underway. Going into turn one. Oh, look at the pace car has crashed into a photographer's stand. Mark Donohue has taken the lead. We're on the race. We can't see what has happened down there. The pace car, out of control, crashed into a photographer's stand. People fell out as if a corn crib had been opened, just tumbling down on the track. Chris Schenkel is in the car. Tony Holman is in it. There's the scene. Astronaut John Glenn is in that car with Chris and Tony Holman. A man named Eldon Palmer, a local automobile dealer, was driving the car, not a professional race driver. There's Mark Donohue leading the race. It's hard to keep your mind on it right now. Donohue, Jackie, off to a tremendous lead. I can't imagine what happened to that pace car.
Well, I don't know. I think the pace car must have been coming through the pit lane much too quick, Jim, and it seems that he wasn't paying attention to where he was. I mean, an enormous amount of debris down there. He must have hit that stand at a tremendous speed. I mean, an absolute tragedy, it looks like. I certainly hope it doesn't turn out as bad as it looks.
There are a number of people down on the ground, as you possibly could see. The ambulances are there already. Thank heaven for the safety precautions of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Fantastic. I see Donohue's broken this gap.
We have a first report. Chris Schenkel, our colleague, is okay. He is out of the car. So is Tony Holman. So is astronaut John Glenn. And so is the driver, Eldon Palmer. They're all okay. But a number of people are in ambulances and on their way to Methodist Hospital. That's the only report at this time. In the race, Mark Donohue is an easy leader. We have a report on some of the people injured when the pace car crashed into a photographer's stand just after going off the track at the beginning of the race. Dr. Vicente Alvarez, an ear and nose specialist from Buenos Aires, Argentina, has covered the 500 for many years. There's Joe Leonard out of his car. That's it for the day. Joe Leonard is out of it for 1971. Dr. Alvarez has been a journalist. He's also a medical doctor. His condition at Methodist Hospital is critical, but responding. He has head and chest injuries. 4 other people are in Methodist Hospital, 3 with broken right legs, 1 with a head injury. None of those 4 are critical. All of the others involved have been treated and released, so we have 5 people in the hospital altogether, and Dr. Alvarez from Argentina, the most seriously injured. Terribly unfortunate thing that happened at the very start of the race when the pace car got out of control after it had come into the pits and crashed into a temporary stand erected primarily for photographers. Out on the race course, we still have the yellow flag out. Look, Tom Sneva accelerating there.
Well, he's anticipating.
There's the pace car still on the track, but there's Sneva passing the pace car. What's going on?
Oh, he can't do that. That's certainly
illegal.
Against the regulations. He's anticipated the green flag, and in fact, another car passing the pace car.
That's the other Whittington brother.
That's a very unusual sight.
Let's have a look at this.
Well, it's in slow motion. Here's a replay. In fact, the pace car, you can see with the flashing light, he's accelerating past it. He's going very quickly, and he must be looking at that pace car and realizing he's made a no-no because that's simply not allowed.
Okay, well, what in the world happened? It looked like he was going to try to jump, then the pace car did not go off, and he was hung out there. We'll be right back.
Family team of Herb and Rose Weiser, Johnny Parsons, 10th fastest on the grid this week. A tremendous performance in qualifying by this young driver from Speedway, Indiana, who's back in an IndyCar saddle.
Herm Johnson's car is still in the pit area. The pace car pulls off of the track. No, it doesn't. It stays on the track. I think some of the drivers anticipating a green, but the pace car stays out, and the drivers get on the binders. Kevin Cogan had to go to the inside of the racetrack and really hit the brakes hard because I think they were anticipating a green that time around.
Bob, I'll tell you, that's a very good point, and let's keep our eyes on Kevin. He's the inside of row number 3, obviously very sensitive about what has happened in the last 20 days to him. He sees a little bit of confusion up front, and Kevin darts down to the inside of the racetrack, getting out of everyone's way right alongside of Mario Andretti, whom he was very close to in Indianapolis also, and Kevin gathered her back up. Actually, I shouldn't say gathered. He never really lost it.
Well, the pace car now has turned out the yellow lights atop it, is pulling well ahead of the field, and is indeed pulling into the pit area now. So the green could come out this time around. Gordon John.
That's good information and clears up the questions that we had earlier about whether or not Rahal is in the lead, and if so, if he has almost a lap lead on the entire field, and indeed he does. Last time I counted, he was 19th in line here, so it is almost a full lap advantage for Bobby Rahal.
We are back inside the Just Car. There's that
51 laps have been completed. Bobby Rahal with almost a full lap lead on the rest of the field. Running in second position is Emerson Fittipaldi, and third is Al Unser Jr. Let's go to Jack Arute, who's working in the pit area.
This pace car controversy continues to boil over and over the pot. Now, let me update you on the situation. We've talked to you several times from the pits here and told you that Emerson Fittipaldi will be brought in for a stop-and-go penalty. Well, we've talked to the Patrick team. Pat Patrick has told me that he's asked not to appeal it, but he's asked for CART to consider this as a solution. In addition to taking on the stop-and-go penalty, he feels that Bobby Rahal should be kept behind the pace car and the rest of the field allowed to go around. Therefore, Rahal would not have what literally is a lap and then some advantage on the rest of the competition. CART has taken that under advisement. Meanwhile, Rahal has come in, topped off his fuel tank, and maybe that will resolve the situation as well, because now he will catch up to the back of the field. It's really confused down here. When you talk to the CART officials, all they say is, we're taking it under advisement. A very big word with a big question mark behind it.
Well, it is an interesting situation. There are only 21 cars on the track, and Rahal was running around the 19th car on the track before he came in, and now Tom Sneva is behind him, so I think he's in 20th spot, so he didn't lose anything by going in for that pit stop, and really was not penalized at all for doing so again. But this is an interesting scoring snafu that has occurred.
Here's the stop, and there's the go for Emerson Fittipaldi. He's the first of reportedly 2 drivers that will be brought in and assess that penalty. He's back in the mainstream of traffic. We'll have to wait and see if the same will be done to Bobby Rahal further on down the pits.
Out in front of Rahal. Emerson got out in front of Rahal, and I'll tell you, Emerson Fittipaldi is terrific on road courses. We might be in for some thrills.
That's an interesting situation. Now, Rahal reportedly will be also black flag. I did not notice whether or not he was at last time around, but Fittipaldi did make the stop-and-go penalty, and is back trying to work himself back up to speed. Johnny Rutherford, he's going to the inside of Rutherford right now and passing him. Roy Oboisel right ahead of Fittipaldi now.
Nicky Panoro, the official starter, still has the black flag in his hand, and if Rahal happens to be the next one required to come in, that puts Little Al and Michael in that order, the leaders of this race.
Still watching Fittipaldi.
Waiting for Rahal to come by. Panoro has got the eagle eye out. The black flag has not been displayed as of yet. There is Emerson Fittipaldi, definitely running well within the lead lap.
And we're watching the...
And Rahal likewise came in.
There is Bobby. Let's go to Dan Matheson.
Well, I just talked 30 seconds ago with Steve Horn, the crew chief here, and he was really surprised that his driver had to stop. He said there had been a pass on the pace car, but they did not have, the pace car that is, did not have the lights on. And now here he is at a full stop, keeping the revs up.
They are giving him a 1-minute penalty by the looks of it.
He is not happy at all, but this does explain it now. Emerson's was a stop-and-go penalty. Rahal's is a much longer penalty, so this is going to eliminate Bobby's penalty. Jack Arute?
One entire lap. Get him back on the lap with the rest of the field. Steve Horn is livid about it. He's off and away. Bobby Rahal almost stalled the engine. They played this one very close to the vest. Nobody from CART played their hand and informed anyone that that's what they were going to do. Further down, the Patrick team were visibly upset because they thought it was going to be a simple stop and go for Bobby Rahal. But what CART did to Steve Horn, the True Sports team, and Bobby Rahal, well, they kept the aces down until they brought him into the pits.
Well, now, what determines whether it's a stop-and-go penalty or whether it's a one-lap penalty? If you pass the pace car, you pass the pace car.
Yep, my understanding is, historically speaking, that a blatant passing of the pace car is a one-lap penalty, and that appears to be what was assessed to Bobby. But because the information was not free-flowing, nobody really knew what was coming down. Emerson's problem appeared to be a pit infraction more than really a passing of the pace car. That's my best guess at this point.
Well,
here's Fittipaldi coming back into the pits, and he's rolling through with damage on one side of the car, and Rick Mears had a problem with one of the pace cars.
Ran into the tire barrier.
So a race that has gone so smoothly, suddenly is in total disarray.
One yellow flag, and we've got more action.
Oh, look at the damage on Fittipaldi. Look at that horse condition flag and the yellow flags there. And this is that turn that caused the problem for the pace car, driven, by the way, by Johnny Rutherford. Apparently, when they got into the side of Fittipaldi's car in the pits, they hit all the coolant lines, and he was trailing coolant when he came through here, which is just slicker than can be. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
Because during the first day of practice and qualifying here,
one car off, that's Zampedri. Quick spin. He should be able to get it back started and back on the course, but no, the officials aren't going to take a chance. Full course yellow once again. The fourth of the day.
The man we're looking at here, Paul Tracy.
Now they say they're withdrawing the yellow, but they've got a pace car on the course, so they can't very well do that. Johnny Rutherford driving the pace car.
I was going to say Tracy, who's at the top of your screen there, is suddenly extremely well placed. Michael Andretti having some trouble. Paul Tracy has worked his way up from 9th to 4th. The field is bunched. He's very, very fast now. I think we're going to see some major league driving from him.
All right, let me try. That's Fittipaldi answering the black flag. Let me try and make sense of this for you very quickly. They showed the full course yellow, but only for a few seconds, just enough for Johnny Rutherford to take out the PPG pace car. Then they decided it wasn't necessary, and so he was able to duck back in, and they were able to continue racing on the course. Now, let's go. The word comes from the stewards of the race and race control while we watch Michael, the leader, and we look for Jack Villeneuve, who runs in third place in that blue and white number 27. Because he did not pick the pace car up properly, there he is. They're going to assess a two-lap penalty. A two-lap penalty on this car. They'll just take it off of his total and drop him down through the field.
Well, that's got to be a disastrous thing. I'll guarantee you, Barry Green is going to really worry about this one. This is a serious penalty.
So Andretti leads. Goodyear second. With that penalty, Ribeiro moves up into third. Now here's a look at them trying to get Villeneuve about 10 minutes ago behind the pace car.
Now that's Villeneuve on the outside of the pace car. He went by the pace car. Now he's coming back to it. So far, he hasn't broken any rules.
And the move of not following those orders precisely cost him 2 laps in the race, and he has dropped well down in the field. In fact, out of the top 20. So Jack Villeneuve with a tremendous penalty. They haven't assessed one like that in several years in Indianapolis. Now he runs in 24th position. The leader of the race is Michael Andretti. We'll return. There's Leslie, Scott's wife, as she watches on. They live now here on the north side of Indianapolis. He is Canadian. If he can win, be the first Canadian to do so. But remember, Villeneuve is also Canadian. And Salazar, the
No, that can't be right.
Can't do that.
The pace car was too slow, Paul. He needed to get a run.
But they gave him the green flag anyway. Dwayne Sweeney is waving the green flag. Goodyear got a run on the pace car.
I think it was only a normal deal. The pace car just wouldn't accelerate. He just went too slow.
Jack Villeneuve was not anticipating that, and as a result, Goodyear got a good run on him. Now that's Ari Leyendijk that's moving in there. He is not part of this battle. Leyendijk runs in 8th place, a lap down. But now he pokes his nose into the fight.
That was a savage setback for Villeneuve.
Scott Goodyear going into turn 3. Had to get moving. He couldn't wait any longer. Otherwise, the same thing would have happened to him and happened to Scott Stewart before.
And Rahal got around Salazar on that restart as well. And that puts Rahal up into the fight.
The green car in the center of the screen is Eliseo Salazar, who's running in third.
Now that's Christian.
No, that's Christian Fittipaldi. My apologies.
Rahal right behind him. Salazar sitting
Has
just
been
behind
displaced.
Rahal.
Yes, also in a green car. Has dropped back suddenly.
9 laps to go.
Wow, Fittipaldi in trouble in that car for a second. The track conditions, Bobby, must be terrible.
They are. They're slippery, but remember, the gust comes up and goes down. If it's one lap we have gust, next we don't.
Oh, no. The officials are now reporting they're going to show the black flag to Scott Goodyear, the 24 car. You're on board with him now. They're going to show the black flag to the leader of the race. Stop and go penalty because
He passed the pace car before the green. Scott Goodyear is about to lose the Indy 500 on a penalty. A black flag, stop and go.
And
look at Leslie.
And Jacques Villeneuve may be about to win it because of a penalty, despite the fact you see him there in that blue and white car, despite the fact he himself suffered what appeared to be a death blow penalty, a 2-lap penalty much earlier in the race. So the story of this race, Bobby, no question about it, has been the role that the officials have played in the race.
It's been a roll of penalties this entire race from start to finish, and it's just sad to see races end like this.
Heard from the spotter that they are not going to go green, and Curry let his driver know. So
who was?
Now, what's the question here, Larry? All
well,
of the tactics that are played.
A lot of the guys didn't get the signal.
They didn't get the word, did they? Now, Johnny Rutherford drops in 4th place in the pace car.
That Aurora might go all day, too.
That's what they said.
Good call, Vic. A bunch of guys trying to kill themselves.
Gives you an idea of the spirit with which these guys approach racing. Johnny Rutherford also going to drive the pace car at the Indy 500. And I was talking to him about it the other day. I said, you know, the real danger of putting a guy like you in the Indy pace car is there's a real good chance when they go green, you're not off the track. He just smiled.
I don't know, did you hear, we had Tony on the radio. Did you hear his comment? There's a lot of guys out here trying to kill themselves.
Yeah, that's what I said, the spirit. 67 laps of yellow today. That tops the record of 50.
And there's Carlson being led to the mandatory checkup at the infield hospital. And things have changed now, and we're going to have to see who has the best. Now, let's take a look. Here's the pace car coming out, and right in front of him is where the Carlson crash is. He collects a race car.
I don't know who's driving the pace car tonight.
So Tice Carlson and the pace car make contact. We'll watch it.
How is this going to affect things? Well, I'm not 100% sure at this point. We have to get back and see where we're going. Things are heading in the right direction for the team. We started third today. We had a really good car. There were points in the race, so we were the fastest car on the racetrack, even after we went in for a while earlier and repaired the car. So we're happy with our performance. We just need to find a sponsor until we get to the next race. Okay, we hope to see you there. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
All right, there you have the update. Goodyear is your race leader. Ray is running in second, 181.
And the clock counting down, at least we hope we do. Gary Gerald?
Oh, we've got an interesting report here from Dario Franchitti. Allegedly in the cockpit, he thinks he sees fluid coming from one of the safety cars up in front of him, and he's concerned about it. I would be too.
Well, and the report actually coming in a couple of different places on that now, and that's the last thing they need on this circuit.
And it's the last thing you want a driver focusing on as they come back to the final restart of the race. You don't want any concerns about track conditions. You want your driver solely focused on getting a good jump on the pace car and the rest of the field, making sure that he's not attacked from behind, focusing solely on getting just the last few laps out of the car to get to the checkered flag.
Now, here's what they're going to do. They're going to switch pace cars. Not going to take the chance. We haven't had a confirmation of that as a problem from the course observers, but there it goes. Pace car goes into the pits, and now we'll exchange for another one. First time I've ever called that.
Yeah, what's frightening is I drove that PPG pace car just a few days ago, and it was working fine then, Paul, I swear. And I left it that way. I'm telling you the truth.
I'm not so sure, Parker. I'm going back and check on you. Well, the new pace car will now pick him up. Montoya! Montoya's in trouble, and it's exactly
the same place, Paul.
It's what happened to DeFerrin. Exactly the same point on the circuit. This is really only a few feet from the broadcast booth, trying to scrub the tires up. Look, he gets into Castroneves and then into the wall.
Well, or did Castroneves get into him, Paul? That's the question. We'll have to see that again. We are right on the outside of the fastest corner on the racetrack at 170 miles an hour, and the Targa car is literally less than 15 feet from where we're sitting, right on the outside of that corner. I don't think I've ever seen that either. Remember, Detroit's one of those places. Nothing happens for a while, and then the strangest things happen.
And so Montoya strikes the wall. The white flag comes out. The race will finish as a timed race under yellow. Franchitti 1-2 going to the checkered flag when they come by. Look at Castroneves. He's got severe damage. He's going to try to get it around. We're going to get the white as they come around.
He's got 2 minutes to go, Paul, but look, the tire's now about ready to leave that rim. This is primarily a right-hand course. It's the left front wheel. Oh, boy, I'm going to be very surprised if they don't black flag him.
A look from Montoya's point of view. I wonder if the pace car pulling off to the right confused him in some way.
Well, I'm not so sure. Oh, he just got nailed from behind,
nailed.
Paul.
Yep.
That was all Castroneves into the back of him. You can see the hand in the air. That's what I suspected the first time we saw it. I just wanted to make sure.
So, and now they circulate. Yellow flags around all around. Race is slowed. Franchitti and Tracy will see the white flag, and shades of Toronto. Team Green may, in fact, assuming everybody can make it all the way to the finish, come up with a 1-2 victory again. Magnussen's view.
You could see the booth just on the outside there, Paul. What an amazing occurrence. This would be the 11th straight.
24 in 93. Believe it or not, that field is actually slowing. They'll have to make that good.
I'm watching this little tussle here as far as regaining position.
You want one left turn? Are you okay where you're at? I think I got to take one turn to front wing out of this thing.
Under the yellow, and we also just saw Gidley go by the pace car there, one of the safety vehicles. It was a little hard to see.
It was that flash that you saw at the top of the screen.
Well, the pace car is now entering turn 3, and Gidley went blowing by it as far as I could tell, as the pace car is trying to pick up the leaders. So now he's got Kenny Breck. This is very interesting. He went hauling past the pace car at a very good rate of speed.
Gail Truist driving the pace car.
To have Gidley, who just went by. You just stay where you are until someone waves you by.
That continued disagreement as to the positioning of these.
I'm staying here.
Kenny Breck's not going anywhere.
I'm not taking any chances at all, says Breck.
He likes being behind the pace car. That means he's the leader. But the interesting thing was watching Mimo go by the pace car when he was the leader of the race. Didn't hesitate at all. The pace car firmly established on the track. It was down the middle of the back straightaway. So it wasn't any confusion of the pace car coming out of the pits.
And there's the line. So
what the heck happened there?
What has Gidley done perhaps to himself?
Well, at the moment now they are having the first discussions that Mike Hull has had from the Ganassi team with CART just took place. There was no CART officials that came over when Gidley went by the pace car, so we made the assumption then that CART had no problem with that. Now the team and CART are trying to figure out what do we do next.
Well, Mike came back to the scorer's stand with a smile on his face, but I'm not so sure it wasn't a cynical smile.
Well, at this point, they'd have to wave everyone by to get to Mimo. This is going to be interesting.
And Mike Hull can. He said he could speak to us for a moment. Mike.
What they're going to do is the entire field is going to pass the pace car. You are the leader of the race. When the pack-up is complete and everyone is behind you, the pits will open.
There you got it.
Boy, that's right on top of it. Got the word as Gidley got the word.
They've begun passing.
Now Michel Jourdain's crew comes over the wall.
This is really frustrating for Paul to not be able to pit with that cushion he built up. The guys have not caught him yet, but I expect they will before the pace car is back around.
Now the Visteon crew for Oriol Servia takes their positions in the pit lane.
The guys are all ready for you. We're all set up. It's going to be a Brahma of a pit stop. Everything's going to be fine.
It's got to be pretty reassuring. It's going to be fine.
But there's so many things that go into a pit stop. He's asking the pace car to go ahead. He knows the field has not caught him yet. If Bruno does not catch him.
We are the best, remember that.
Tommy, Scott Remke has asked CART to close the pits because Tracy will have such a big advantage. The rest of the boys will potentially be caught behind the pace car.
That's a bunch of baloney, because I mean, if here he comes, he's going to get it. He's going to.
You hear him on the radio. His left thumb is on the radio button. He's trying to get him to pick up the pace.
Our sensors heard the F-bombs.
As you get here, remember to watch your speed in the pit lane. Be careful.
This is going to help him a bunch getting there. That's a major faux pas by Junqueira not catching up.
side by side. Scott Dixon was not too pleased with the pace car. He wanted him to go a little faster because he doesn't want to end this thing, and he wants to get as many cars past as well. Look at him. He's right up on top of him, and he goes up and says, hey, come on, Jack. What's going on with Mike Hull?
Well, you can't blame Scott Dixon. Mike Hull is talking to Scott right now, as he has been. And you can't blame him for wanting to run these laps down. But, Mike, let's talk shortly.
And now we see the other reason that we had the contact. It wasn't just Hideki Muto. It looks like he and Marty Roth may have gotten together. And we haven't seen a replay on this from our host broadcasters over in Japan. We'll see if we can dial that one up. Here we go.
Well, this is actually some action that's going on during... Wow. Oh, there you go. That is actually after they come in through the stop and they're about ready to leave. And then you pass the timeline, which they did. And you know what ends up happening is that when you have your foot on the gas as a rookie, sometimes you got your foot too far down on the gas and trying to make sure you get a good jump as soon as your speed limiter control comes off, which is right now. And when you do that, the speed limiter control comes off, your foot's almost all the way down as we watch Helio Castroneves.
Back live at Detroit, and the race has stopped before it even really got started. The pace car spun and hit the wall, exiting the pit lane off of that hump that comes off onto the racetrack. You see the safety team is there with the pace car and its occupants. They're going to try and motion the field around, although I think most of the drivers have shut the engines off by now. Watch this. Just bizarre.
It's like he wasn't expecting to see the two-seater there.
And that is one of the fastest sections of the racetrack for a race car at speed.
Just accelerating and hit something, or?
Yeah, I think he just got on the gas, unfortunately, and the back end came around because the back end gets light going over that hump. So,
Oriol Servia is the pace car driver. There you see the passenger and the pace car driver coming out. No, that is not Oriol. That's Mark Royce of General Motors. So the field is all stopped. Alexander Rossi drove around and continued around to the back of the field, but everybody stopped there as the engine shut off. And I have to say, I can't recall seeing this in all my years doing this. I've seen the pace car stolen once,
yes,
years ago. But for now, everybody stopped, and we're obviously going to be a minute while this gets cleaned up. The Honda two-seater.
This Geico aerial shot is featuring the Honda pace car. The reason why, just get ready for it, folks. Everything has happened today that could. Oriol Servia driving the pace car, we believe, is low on fuel.
I think Joe Exotica's behind the wheel of that thing.
So Newgarden apparently is going to control the field. How about handing the advantage to the leader as the pace car comes in? Watch this on your right-hand side. IndyCar official is going to point him that way. Servia carries on. I'm not sure if he knew where the fuel was.
Well, that car doesn't run on ethanol. It's got to go get gasoline, so there's nothing in the pit lane for him.
You might as well just take one of the generators on pit lane, try to dump it in the tank. Maybe Marco Andretti's or somebody else that's out.
Going green next time.
For the last few rounds of this year's championship in the Midnile.com Chevy. He pitted on lap 56, which is only one lap different from race leader Pato O'Ward, and he's there flying the flag for ECR.
Check this out. If we assume that these front runners aren't going to be able to make it, and Scott Dixon is the best of the cars that have pit, it'll be a Dixon-Herta-McLaughlin power shootout for the win after all the drama those drivers have had today. And there is Rocket Kevin Blanche fueling the pace car.
Yes, it's been that kind of day, folks. 7 cautions for 27 laps. Even the Honda Civic Type R needed a little bit of extra gas.